All right, so today we're diving deep into a story that's been told and retold for centuries.
The story of Joseph and his brothers,
Yeah, a story full of jealousy, betrayal, all that good stuff.
but also forgiveness and redemption.
Exactly. And we're going to be looking at this story specifically through the lens of this really cool YouTube video called The Dream Episode 4.
From the channel Descendants.
Yep. They really brought this ancient story to life. So, to kind of set the stage, we start off with Joseph. He's living a pretty comfy life with his family in Canaan. He's definitely the favored son of his father, Jacob.
Oh yeah, no doubt about that.
But then things get a little rocky when Joseph starts having these super vivid dreams.
And not just any dreams, right?
Oh no, these are like ego-boosting, epic dreams. In one, he sees the sun, the moon, and 11 stars all bowing down to him.
Can you imagine being his brother? Like, oh, okay, so you're the center of the universe, huh?
Seriously. But we have to remember, back then, dreams were a big deal, right?
Huge. They were seen as messages from the divine. So when Jacob interprets these dreams as a sign that Joseph is destined for greatness.
It's not just dad playing favorites.
Right, it's like a prophecy almost.
And to add fuel to the fire, Jacob gives Joseph this incredible tunic.
Not just any tunic, though.
Oh no, it's woven from Adam's cloak.
Passed down through generations.
Talk about a symbol of favoritism.
You can practically feel the brothers seething.
Oh, I bet. So Joseph, maybe not thinking things through, shares another dream with his brothers.
And this one.
Even more intense. Basically, he's at the center of the universe with everything revolving around him.
Now put yourself in the brothers' sandals.
Yeah, I mean,
Inheritance, social standing, that was everything back then. These dreams, they're a threat.
a threat to their whole future, especially for Reuben, Simeon, and Judah. They are not happy.
Not at all.
So jealousy, fear, all these emotions are just boiling over.
And one day, while they're out tending sheep,
They snap. They grab Joseph and throw him into a dry cistern.
it's chilling, a total betrayal.
And this act really shows just how destructive unchecked jealousy can be.
It can push people to do terrible things.
Absolutely. But as they're contemplating what to do next, a caravan of Midianite traders happens to pass by.
Heading for Egypt.
And it's Judah who sees a way out.
A way to profit from this horrible act.
They decide to sell Joseph into slavery.
It's a choice that will have huge consequences for everyone involved.
Yeah, like a ripple effect reaching far into the future. But they have to cover their tracks somehow, so they come up with this truly awful plan. They slaughter a goat, soak Joseph's fancy tunic in the blood.
And present it to Jacob, claiming a wild animal killed him.
Imagine the grief he must have felt, believing his beloved son was dead.
It adds a whole other layer to the story, right?
Yeah.
We see the brothers trying to protect themselves, but also inflicting this unimaginable pain on their father.
So we're left with Joseph, ripped from his family, sold into slavery in a foreign land. It seems pretty bleak. But this is just the start of his incredible journey, and that's what we'll explore as we go deeper into this story. When we left off, Joseph was on his way to Egypt, sold as a slave by his own brothers.
A tough break, to say the least.
Yeah, heartbreaking. But you know what's remarkable about Joseph? He's resilient.
Seriously. Thrown into this completely new world, new language, new everything.
And yet, he adapts.
He doesn't just survive, he thrives.
It's inspiring. Makes you wonder what we could overcome if we had that kind of strength.
Definitely food for thought.
So Joseph is passed from trader to trader until he ends up in the house of Potiphar.
A captain of Pharaoh's guard, that's a big deal.
So basically from slave to someone in a position of influence.
In a pretty powerful household, too.
It's a real testament to Joseph's character, don't you think?
Absolutely. Shows his intelligence, his ability to adapt and gain trust.
Things are finally looking up for him.
Well, the story can't be that simple, right?
Of course not. That's when we meet Potiphar's wife, Zuleika.
And she's got her eyes on Joseph.
Oh, yeah. Big time.
Becomes infatuated with him, tries to seduce him.
It's like a classic tale, temptation, betrayal, the whole 9 yards.
And what does Joseph do? He sticks to his principles.
He refuses her advances.
Even though it could cost him big time. Makes you think, have you ever been in a situation like that?
Where you had to stand up for what you believe in, even though it was hard?
Joseph's story shows us that doing the right thing isn't always easy.
It takes courage.
It sure does. And unfortunately for Joseph, his refusal doesn't go over well with Zuleika.
She's furious, falsely accuses him of assault.
And just like that, he's thrown in prison.
Back to square one, it seems so unfair.
Totally. But even in prison, Joseph's character shines through.
He earns the trust of the warden, rises to a position of authority again.
It's like a pattern with this guy.
Right. Always making the best of a bad situation. And it's in prison that his ability to interpret dreams really comes into focus.
He meets the Pharaoh's butler and baker. They're both locked up too.
And they're having some pretty weird dreams.
Joseph, being Joseph, interprets them.
Mhm.
Accurately, as it turns out, predicts the butler will be released.
And the baker.
Not so lucky.
This whole episode, it seems small, but it ends up being super important.
The butler is so grateful he promises to remember Joseph when he gets back to his position
It's like a tiny seed of hope being planted.
in this really dark place.
Makes you wonder if we sometimes miss those little glimmers of hope in our own lives.
When we're going through tough times, maybe we just need to look a little closer.
So Joseph is still stuck in prison, but at least there's that promise from the butler.
And that promise is about to pay off in a big way because Pharaoh starts having some disturbing dreams of his own.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the story of Joseph. We last left him in a pretty powerful position.
Pharaoh's right-hand man.
Right, and now we're about to see just how much his life has changed.
It's interesting how this story shows how unpredictable fate can be.
What do you mean?
Well, remember those brothers who threw him into a pit?
Yeah,
Now they're completely dependent on him.
because of the famine.
Exactly. It spread beyond Egypt, even reached Canaan.
Where his family is?
Yeah, they're desperate for food, so they have to travel to Egypt.
And that's where things get really interesting.
Talk about a tense reunion.
They have no idea they're about to face the very brother they betrayed.
And Joseph, disguised as this Egyptian viceroy, Zaphnath-Paneah, he recognizes them immediately.
But he doesn't say anything right away.
No, he decides to test them.
Accuses them of being spies.
Pretty clever way to see if they've changed at all.
And to raise the stakes even higher, he imprisons Simeon
And demands they return with their youngest brother, Benjamin.
as proof they're telling the truth.
It's risky, playing with their emotions like that.
But I guess after what they did to him, he needs some reassurance.
To see if they've really changed.
So what happens?
Well, they're desperate to save Simeon,
So they agree to bring Benjamin.
even though their dad, Jacob, isn't too happy about it.
It shows they're willing to risk a lot for family.
Maybe a sign that their priorities have shifted.
That they're not the same selfish brothers they used to be.
And when they finally return with Benjamin,
That's when Joseph can't hold back any longer.
the emotions must have been overwhelming on both sides.
I can only imagine. But what's incredible is how Joseph reacts.
He doesn't seek revenge.
He chooses forgiveness.
He says, "What you intended for evil, God intended for good."
Powerful words, right? He sees a bigger picture.
That even something terrible can be turned into something good.
And this act of forgiveness leads to a joyous reunion with their father,
The whole family moves to Egypt.
settled in Goshen under Joseph's protection.
It's a beautiful image of healing and reconciliation.
But the story doesn't end there.
Joseph goes on to do incredible things,
He becomes this wise leader.
saving countless lives during the famine.
He shows that true leadership is about using your power to serve others.
Exactly. And even in his final moments, his connection to his roots remains strong,
He asks to be buried in Canaan,
the land of his forefathers.
showing that no matter where life takes us, we never forget where we came from.
It's a beautiful and powerful story.
That speaks to the best and worst of human nature.
It challenges us to think about forgiveness, resilience, and the potential for good, even in the face of hardship.
And with that, we come to the end of our deep dive into the story of Joseph and his brothers,
It's a story that continues to resonate through the ages.
and one that offers us timeless lessons about the power of forgiveness, the importance of family, and the enduring strength of the human spirit.
I think we can all find something to reflect on in this incredible tale.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.